And good morning, New Mexico. We are 99.9 FM, AM 810. It's time now once again for the Rusty Nut Show right here on your community radio station with Mr. Rusty Nut himself, Mr. Gabriel Garcia of the Auto Angel. We want to thank Advanced Auto Parts, proud sponsors of this great show. And also, of course, Bubba. Thank you, Bubba, for, producing this baby. We couldn't do it without you. Look at underneath. And for those of you watching or listening on Facebook, on social media, ahí tienes all kinds of goodies. Thanks, Bubba. We appreciate it. Gabriel, how was Father's Day?
Hey, good morning, Patricio. Happy belated Father's Day to you, hermano.
Yes, sir. También a ti.
Gracias, gracias. Mine was awesome, bro. I had all three of my daughters in one room for a little while at least.
Very nice. Very nice.
How about you? Did you have a full tent or a full casa?
Yeah, hung out at my mom's for a little bit with my bros and the family, and then hung out at my suegro. So it was a good one. No complaints, brother.
Out of way. So everyone listening, happy belated Father's Day. And then we're going to get right into, this show is the Rusty Nut Show. And the purpose of this show is to take some time from you to educate you about the second largest investment that you're going to make in life next to your home is typically the car or truck that you drive on a regular basis. The one you're probably in right now listening to this show.
That's right. And of course, not only educate, which we all learn a bunch, but it's also to keep you in front of the tow truck and not on top of the tow truck. We do appreciate what all the tow truck drivers do. But with that being said, we do want to stay in front of them and not on top of them,
Out of way, hombre. Well said. So those of you that just maybe fell on the dial by chance or is your first time listening in, the purpose of the show is we target vehicles that are an average age of about 12 years old. Because that's what the industry says is the average age of a car on the United States fleet right now. So meaning all the cars on the road today, average age is about 12 years old. With that said, they got about 140,000 miles on them, plus or minus. So you guys might drive and look down at your odometer and say, yeah, I'm right in that threshold, over 100 anyway. And that's where this show is really targeting to try and help you, spend your hard-earned money in the right places, not meaning facilities necessarily, but in the right parts of your car to keep it in front of that tow truck. This show has an attitude of gratitude. Patricio, to you and your familia, thank you so much for giving us a voice. If it wasn't for your radio station, shows like this wouldn't happen. And I know the Rusty Nut Show isn't the only one. There's so many that you guys have on the air daily that are just so impactful to everyone out there in the listening audience all over northern New Mexico. I want to thank my team here at the Auto Angel. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't have the freedom to be here on the radio with you. So to all of them, thank you for your hard work and your dedication to us. We want to go right into a red, white, and blue thank you. This is to all enlisted servicemen and women, active duty, stateside, abroad, reservists, veterans, but most of all, the families that support those brave men and women that have volunteered to serve this great country. We like to always say something about the dinner table. Patricio, what do we always say?
We always say there's an empty seat there because of the sacrifice that our military men and women make. Also, their families make the sacrifice, not having, their loved one there. And it's also the same for our police officers and firefighters because they too work shifts, 24 hours, depending on their shift. So if it's for breakfast, you have an empty seat, lunch, or dinner, whatever. So we appreciate it. And we live in one of the greatest countries because of people like them that serve.
No doubt. And, I don't want to bring any doom and gloom to anybody listening, but those families know that when their loved one leaves, it's a risky job. It's a dangerous job. So that, they're always glad to hear them come home and be always glad to have them come home. So thank you to the families that take on that burden on our behalf for guys like you and I, Patricio, where we just take it easy.
Yep, that's it. We are blessed.
We are blessed, no doubt. And then we're going to get into the Azul Gracias. This is a red, white. This one's the blue collar thank you. This is where we do somebody who works behind the scenes maybe, or just maybe they're in the front line, but they don't necessarily get the gratitude that they deserve. So I'm going to choose one this week is the office personnel at the schools and the summer programs all over Santa Fe and northern New Mexico. I was kind of reminded about this the other day. A special shout out to Mrs. Esquivel over there at Santo Niño. I was over there and I ran into her and she mentioned that she listens to the show and, they have a line of people they're dealing with. They have phones ringing. They're still dealing with social distancing and masks, do or don't wear them and keep the clean pen there and, all those kinds of things. And So having people like that have great customer service skills, we're always very appreciative of them and all they do for us.
Well, brother, what I tell you, that don't shoot the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. They're not the ones that make up the rules and regs, and so they're there. And so there you go, Mrs. Esquivel, right?
Yep, you nailed it.
Very good. Okay. I
I was
like it,
telling
brother.
her, me and her husband used to lie to each other about how much leña we could haul in one truck, you know.
And who told the biggest story?
Oh, I can stretch it pretty thick, bro. Anybody who
I,
knows me,
I don't know. Your nose isn't as long as mine, Mira. For those of you watching, so
I can stretch it, bro.
we
I
know
can
who used to
do
lie the most.
we could do I could do Pinocchio about the load of leña any day. All right, so let's get into speaking of leña. If you have one piñon in one hand and two piñons in the other hand, what do you have?
Muchos opiniones.
A difference of opinion.
Oh, that's no, because you have the same opinion. You have the
No,
same
that's a
piñon.
difference, bro. If
You
you
have the
have
same
one in one
piñon.
and two in the other, you don't do your math. Por
You just have
via,
muchos opiniones.
and that so-called joke is compliments of Jim Castle. He listens in once in a while, so thank you, Mr. Castle, for that one. And then we do Kyovo of the day. So we're gonna go to this time. I'm gonna tackle Dean over at Napa and Teresa. And we got a retired fireman over there too, Mr. Leary, all that team there at Napa, and across the street, the Vatos over there at Parts Plus. Some of them over there from La Jolla. You remember La Jolla?
Well, it
So
depends. Is that La Jolla off Agua Fria or La Jolla up there going towards, is it
Glorieta.
Tortolitos, Gloriera? Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, speaking of La Jolla and Glorieta, that's all my mom's primos over there, all the Lucero familia. So kyo to anybody up listening that way. Then I don't really have a Spanglish lesson because Norma's here. Or not here today. Norma's on vacacion.
Oh, it's okay, brother, because you know what? We are
Can we
practicing.
use like lazy woman in Spanish?
No,
I want to say it, but I don't want to say it and get in trouble with you.
yeah, not with me, but you might get in trouble. Hey, but I do want to
Anyways,
say, I want to say hi to Alma from Castro's restaurant. Good people there. They listen to us. One of these days, I'm going to set it up where we go do our show over there at Castro's, and Alma can be there and answering questions because she's pretty smart too. You know what I mean? As far
man,
as
and
when
then
it
we could
comes.
have some sopapillas over there.
Yep. And then
Suave.
good morning, of course, to Ron and Angela Chavez. Ron was listening to me last Friday interview Gilberto Romero and another person, and brought us burritos. So Ron,
Nice. I like the
that's
sounds of the
my buddy,
burrito.
And Benny
That's
and
a
Evelyn. Good morning,
whistleberry power.
Herson. Good morning, Herson. How you doing? And let's see who else. Ranger from New Old San Fe Trail Garage. Good meet people out there, and of course Lee Garcia. Good people.
Danger lurk for Ranger Works, bro. Watch out.
Danger lurks. You got it. Okay, what are we talking about?
Today we're gonna be walking and talking. We're gonna talk about additives. So additives meaning, what does that word mean to you in the automotive industry, Patricia? When I say the word additive and we're on the Rusty Nut Show, what does that mean to you?
Well, that means that you got to add maybe something to your gas tank to help
There you go.
your
That's the most popular
either
one for sure.
gas tank clean, or to keep your, depending what type of car you have, to keep your what's it called, as far as your fuel injectors and all that other stuff.
See,
I don't
so
know if
right
you have
now
an attitude.
you haven't even got past the fuel system and you're still finding more and more pieces and parts of it that an additive might help. So let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, if you walk into Advanced right now over there on Siler and you were to look at the aisles, you're going to find multiple, some of them even call it mechanic in a can, as a joke, or snake oil or something like that. But they're additives that have different purposes and different chemical makeups. And quite honestly, I mean, we all believe in chemistry, obviously to a certain degree. I mean, look at the United States is almost all the way vaccinated already, and everything's going to open back up. So cheers to the chemists out there that get it done. So why would we, maybe believe one chemist or one, maybe we purchase one additive or over another? Why not believe them all? So that's kind of what I wanted to help people struggle through or avoid a struggle through today. And again, these kinds of topics are usually inspired by something that we run into here at the shop one week or another, and that's how I end up, picking that topic. Go ahead, Patricia. A ver, he's got a
So
profound question.
I talked about very profound question with a very two topics or two things in the question. I mentioned, of course, the fuel tank. Do you add additives to such things as your oil, your transmission oil, to your coolant system? Is that what it's called, the coolant system, or where you
Yep.
put your antifreeze and all that stuff? The
There
coolant
you go.
system, is that it?
Yes, sir.
So do you add stuff to those things, or is it
So there's
mainly your fuel?
definitely, again, there's additives. There's literally a whole wall at Advanced. And even if you walk through Walmart or wherever you go that they sell automotive products, you will find a whole bunch of additives with all kinds of different uh, advertisements on them. So they have suggestions or things that they say that product will do. So I kind of want to touch on so people can relate. If you go through the store and go through the vitamin aisle, how many vitamins are there and for what?
Una pila to make you
Oh,
good
yeah,
looking,
there's
and they
no
haven't
doubt.
worked for me.
And additives are a lot like vitamins where good marketing can really make you believe how effective they are. Meaning if you watched an infomercial at midnight and ordered that some kind of product, you might say, oh man, I've been feeling great ever since I used it. And then, a month later, 2 months later, we may ask you about it and you say, well, I don't do that anymore. It's like, why? I thought it did so great. Anyway,
Who
can you
is
hear me
that?
still? I don't know. It was one of those checking to see if I want to buy an extended service policy, I think.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so moving forward, fuel
No, but
additives. Let's go there real quick.
you really didn't answer my question as
I
far
did.
as
I said there is a bunch of additives, a whole wall
no,
of them
but
for
what
all different parts of
so
the car.
you could put stuff into your oil for the inside your engine. You could put stuff into your antifreeze where the coolant goes, and you could put
Correct.
stuff into your transmission stuff.
That's true. All of that. I
Okay.
said yes, and you can
No,
buy
I
them
didn't
all.
hear that. Yes, you just said there's a bunch of you walk through. I don't
You
want to
got to get
pelear
some.
contigo, bro.
Oh,
Okay,
there at
dale.
Walgreens, they have some earwax cleaning additive. Go buy some.
Okay, you got it. But hey, we can run it back and find out if you said yes.
Well, you can run it back later and see. I said yes,
Okay,
Patricia. There's a
you
whole
got it.
wall of them, of all different kinds. And now let's talk about the number one that you hit on right away is fuel additives. So fuel additives can improve engine performance. They could even maybe solve a problem for somebody. So you might say, it was running bad, and I added this additive. Fuel additives are designed to primarily keep fuel injectors clean, maybe take some water or help get rid of water that's in gasoline. So more and more, I want to say that fuel additives are the most common, available. You want to be careful, so which one do you buy? There's 15 of them on the shelf that day, or 5, whatever. Which one makes more sense? Obviously, you might ask the person at the counter. So there at Advance, you might ask their manager, Josh, and he might say, oh, I use this, or I have a shop down the street that buys cases of this or whatever. And that might help you make that decision. There's nothing wrong with using somebody's previous experience with a product to validate why you might try it. On the other hand, if you're reading through the bottles, you might find one that actually expresses that it's going to do what you think you need it to do, meaning, fix a rough running engine. You say, I'm going to buy that one because that's what mine's doing. And that might, get you in the idea of which one to select. The thing I want to warn everybody is, again, back to like vitamins, you could pay too much for good branding. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I want to caution people that, maybe trying it once, or maybe, of course, the manufacturer of that product is going to say every tank they want you to put some type of additive because they sell additives. And there's nothing wrong with putting it in there. The vitamin company probably wants you to take, 2 or 3 a day or something, or all their product line, because that's what they sell. So just beware. Use your own common sense about how much of that it costs. So one of those little bottles might be $6, might be $10. So if you're buying that once a week to fill up your tank, that's adding to your cost of fuel. Go ahead.
I know we're talking about the fuel tank and the fuel additive. Would it be in your owner's manual, 1, and 2, how often should they say you find a product that you do like and that does work? How often should you do that to as far as adding it to your fuel when you fill up?
So I think to answer that question,
profound question.
You're right. That's a profound question, Patricio. Where you found it all right. Anyway,
I did.
moving forward on that, to answer that right, I'm going to say I don't believe I've ever seen an owner's manual. I haven't read them all, and I only read. I use the owner's manual for just getting a specific answer, and I've never looked up fuel additives. But I will say that most of them are going to talk about the type of fuel, top tiers, octane levels, things like that, and they may mention that you can or should or shouldn't add an additive. That I can't answer with any facts, but I will say that if I had an additive that I used and I felt like it was giving me the results that it advertised, then I would recommend following the recommendation by that additive. If you wanted to continue working the way it is, then if it says add one every fuel tank and you like the results of it and it's worth it to you, then follow their directions. They're the ones
Very
that
good.
designed it and made it.
Okay.
That makes sense. That's
Yes,
very
sir.
similar to vitamins. The hard part is you really can't measure the results of them, and that's what makes it really hard. When we clean injectors here at the Auto Angel, we use a machine that can actually measure the results from beginning with dirty injectors to the finished product with clean injectors. And that's why I'm really more inclined to promote that over these additives that you pour in for a gasoline fuel injector. But that doesn't mean that they don't work. And even another example might be, mouthwash. Does it help prevent cavities? It's worth it to try. I mean, if you've ever been in a dentist chair, you'd rather try Listerine than the dentist chair.
Hey, I have a question then. So tell me if for those, if somebody takes their vehicle into Gabe, can you tell that they've been using an additive in their fuel tank by their safe fuel injectors or whatever it is you guys clean? Can you tell that?
Typically, the only thing that I could see is when I remove a spark plug for service, we're going to change them. And a lot of times I can tell by the color of the porcelain on the plug instead of being a nice, because when you bake something in the oven, you bake those biscochitos, they turn a nice brown, right? So when you pull a spark plug out, if the engine's running correctly, they're also biscochito brown when you take them out. They're not burnt black and they're not white. So some of these fuel additives will have a tendency to change the color of the porcelain a little bit, but I'm stretching, man. I mean, I'm looking at it and say I could tell something's different. But what it is, I couldn't tell you. And whether it was a benefit or not, I couldn't tell you either. We're still relying on the seat of your pants saying, oh, yeah, it runs better. Okay, well, if you believe it and you like spending the money, more power to you.
But I didn't think all cars or the newer cars, and I know we're dealing, I guess, 12 years and older, but do every car have spark plugs now? I thought they were building them without them.
So gas engines still having spark plugs in them.
Oh, they still do. We just can't. I don't know where they're at.
They're the same place they always been. They're just hidden a little bit more, and they last longer, and they're more expensive. But we'll target that on a different show. We visited it once before, and we can go back to it. Let's get into the.
Hold on. My man Bubba just popped up that profound question. See that? He took it down right away, but it was like,
I can't see it.
See that? Profound question alert.
Profound question alert.
Those of you that are watching on YouTube or on social media, whatever it is, or on the website, kswvradio.com. Boom.
Okay. Boom. You get to see the little
Keep going, brother. I didn't mean to.
So let's go under the hood and let's just talk oil additives. Engine oil additives, the whole thing that most of them are going to brag about is reducing engine wear, taking stress off of, performance parts of your engine. They got detergents and things that are anti-oil sludge and grime. I could show my age here. There was a product that I bought back in the 80s that was called Slick 50. And that guy came to Votech and drained the oil out of a little Briggs & Stratton engine that he had treated with that Slick 50. And it ran we watched him drain the oil out of it while it was running, and it ran till he turned it off. And then he started it again. So that was a really good way to convince us that we should buy that. And you could buy it everywhere for years there. And I was a believer in it at that time because I had really seen an engine run without oil. But once I used that own product in my own truck, whether or not it actually did anything, I couldn't tell you. It didn't ever break. The engine never blew up, but that doesn't mean it was because of that Slick 50. I mean, I still took care of it. So the bottom line is the basic maintenance to your engine is lube, oil, and filter services, getting an oil change. Even if you're putting an additive that shouldn't change that regimen, you shouldn't believe that bottle that it's going to add life to your oil that would reduce the necessity to change it. Remember, oil changes are more than just the oil, and the filter's only so big, it only holds so many things. So good places for engine oil additives, if you have a really high mileage car and maybe it's smoking and you want to try an additive to reduce that, it's already worn out. What's it going to hurt to try something like that?
Very good. And of course, we want to remind folks you're listening to the Rusty Nut Show, heard every Tuesday at 10:30 right here on your community radio station. We want to thank Gabriel, the Auto Angel, and his familia. We want to thank Advanced Auto Parts. I got a profound question that somebody texts me.
A ver.
They want to know if the Rusty Nut himself ever has to have an additive added to him.
Every day, bro. Every day I have additives.
And so what is that additive that he has?
I'm not going to display my secrets.
Huh?
One of them is whiskey every night. A little bit.
We know what it is. It's whistleberries, brother.
A little bit of whiskey, bro. A little bit of Maker's Mark on some ice every night.
What about the whistleberries? Don't be denying
whistleberries are for lunch, bro. Those are for lunch. But that's not an additive. That's a main course.
Oh, okay. Very good.
All right, so let's go on to, you mentioned automatic transmission.
Thank you for that text, that listener. Thank you for the text. Okay, go ahead.
Automatic transmission fluids. That one's a little bit more complicated, and there's a lot of room for argument about that. So let's do this. Modern day transmissions, even those 12-year-old ones, there's so many different fluids out there, and they can react differently. And most of the time, people are reaching for additives when the problem already exists. Kind of like if you try to brush off a cavity with a toothbrush, it ain't going to happen. You could go ahead and get Sensodyne or whatever, but the cavity's already there. So by the time the transmission is shuddering or slipping and you're trying to correct it with a bottle of Miracle Mechanic in a can, probably not going to happen. You should probably keep your $10 or $20. Now, you might tell me a story where it worked or saved you, but on the other hand, you may just be throwing good money at bad money. Transmission's already misbehaving. An additive's probably not going to fix it. If it changes it for any amount of time, it's probably going to be short-lived.
So, and I guess what I'm hearing, and I could be wrong, because I didn't hear that at the very beginning when you said yes to another question, there's really nothing how do I want to put it? These additives, do you feel they really help, or there's really no concrete evidence?
I'll summarize it here at the end. We got one more additive I want to talk about.
Okay, and then I got another question real quick on transmission. Do you put the additive in the same place where you'd add transmission fluid on that little area?
In most cases, yes. Right wherever you have the tranny fluid is where you're going to add the additive. So most of them have a dipstick, but even that's changed, and that's what makes it even harder. Is some of these transmissions, they are affected by the fluid level, where a pint overfill might affect how the transmission behaves. So unless you can properly set the level in your transmission, adding that extra pint might even cause a bigger problem for you. So again, be really cautious on the tranny fluid additives. We haven't seen a lot of good results with those for most people. If they're used at a professional level, if A1 Transmission says we're going to add this to your tranny, if Precision Tranny says, hey, we add this to every transmission, well, then they're the doctors. And for your specific ailment, they're the ones that know what's best for you. So don't, say, well, I heard they're not good. If you have a professional entity that is prescribing that product for your complaint, then by all means agree to it or let them do it, because they're validating why they want to try it.
Very good. And you said you had one more
one more I want to touch on real quick is diesel fuel additives. So diesel fuel additives are a different breed altogether. Diesel altogether is a different product. Diesel getting gel when it's cold. So we have some issues going into winter fuels. And in the summer, we might have some foaming going on. Diesel engines, their injectors are not as easy to service or clean as maybe a gas engine. And they got lift pumps that have to take the fuel from the tank up to the engine. All those factors would promote why a diesel fuel additive might be more money well spent. On top of that, a major company like Cummins has validated that they endorse a particular product. And I just read about it online. So my answer there is you get a company with that kind of reputation as Cummins, and actually endorses a particular product just is one more piece of evidence suggesting that a diesel fuel additive could be money well spent.
And I think you're probably right on that. I know that our good friend Benny Zamora swears by it. He adds it to his vehicles, and so I mean they've lasted a long time. You know what I mean? And so I know Benny Zamora swears by them few additive or what
On
is
the
it called?
diesel, a diesel is a different animal.
Yeah,
so
on the diesel,
it takes
yeah, I'm
takes
talking
a
about the
different
diesel.
attitude, whole bunch of reasons why that we can go on and on, but we just don't have the time. So summary real quick. Are additives snake oils? Maybe. You know, it depends on additives. Remember, they're like kind of like vitamins, really hard to measure results. Fuel additives for gas engines get a rusty nut certified okay, but you know, just to try to keep your fuel injectors clean. So be careful on how much you spend there. Engine oil additives get a rusty nut certified okay, depending on mileage and your goals. So if you're reading a bottle to reduce engine smoke and you got a smoking engine, then why not? If you're going to spend $10 to not, you know, embarrass yourself in front of the parade downtown, then try it. Automatic transmission fluids get a rusty nut. Nope. Unless A1 tranny or precision tranny or somebody like that gives you a reason to override that, I think you're better off keeping that $10 in your wallet. And then last would be the diesel fuel additives. For sure, I'm going to give that a rusty nut certified yes, because again, all the reasons that I mentioned.
Very good, very good, and we appreciate it. And of course, you know, we learn a bunch, and I think part of learning, Gabe, is to with technology that is amazing. A lot of it you got to do your homework. One is listening to wisdom and advice and guidance, and I think that's what the Rusty Nuts program is all about. And it's not it could be a horror show too when Gabe is sticking his camera right up there up his nostril and eyes. So but with that you can do your homework. A lot to learn. We appreciate what Gabriel offers and the advice he gives. It's a lot to think about, and I think one of the main things we got to do is make sure that we do find somebody that is dependable. You know, like I say, when it comes to your tires, we recommend Lee over there, Garcia Tires, the Auto Angel, good people. We have there's Gabe with his mom. Hi, Mom, and Caroline, Mama. And then, of course, Ranger over at the New Old Trail Garage. And so Gabe has too much time on his hands. And we want to thank Advanced Auto Parts, good people there at Advanced Auto Parts. You want to go to somewhere where they're knowledgeable and they're going to give you the right thing, because nowadays, Gabe, we know that and of course it's the newer models, but still you have different types of antifreeze and things like this, coolants for vehicles, so you want to make sure that you get the right one, and that's where Advanced Auto Parts comes in. We appreciate it, brother. Con cuidado.
Thank you, hermano. Remember the difference between your opinion, bro.
No. Yeah, the same nut on one hand, the same nut or opinion.
Not if you got two in one and one on the other.
You got it. Hey, God bless you guys. We're going to go back to our regular programming. We want to thank Advanced Auto Parts and, of course, Gabriel there at the Auto Angel. Hey, hi, guys. How you guys doing? How you kids doing over there in the backdrop?
Kids,
now that you know you put the camera on them and they act like they're all busy. Come on. Hey, God bless you guys. We are 99.9 FM, M810. You've been listening to Rusty Nut Show with Mr. Gabriel Garcia of the Auto Angel.
Mi hermana Susana Kiovo.
Take care.